Welcome to today's explainer, I have finished the race. Okay, let's dive right into this. Today, we're breaking down a truly profound text from the Bible. We're looking at the Apostle Paul's very last letter, unpacking his final charge to his protege, Timothy, and discovering exactly what it means for us today.
Let's anchor our entire explainer right away with our core text, 2 Timothy 4:7. I have fought the good fight, I have finished the race, I have kept the faith. This single verse, it sets our whole theological baseline. It's just a massive, powerful declaration of endurance, and it's the exact lens through which we're going to view all of our findings today. Here's how we're going to tackle this agenda. We'll outline the big picture first, starting with the historical context of Paul's end, then remaining faithful, preaching the word, the fight, finish, keep process, contrasting Paul and Demas, and finally, we'll zero in on the implications for college students.
All right, part 1, historical context, Paul's end.
Now, what's really interesting here is how this transports us right into the bleak, isolated reality of Paul's final days. I mean, think about it. After years of active ministry, traveling all over and planting churches, he's now sitting in prison. He is literally confined in chains. Winter's arriving, bringing these incredibly harsh conditions. Most of his friends are gone, and he knows his end is near. Understanding this timeline makes his instructions to Timothy and his unwavering faithfulness absolutely profound. He's not writing this from some comfortable, cozy office, He's writing from the bitter cold of a lonely prison cell.
Moving right along to section 2, big picture, remaining faithful.
When Paul says he's fought the fight and finished the race, we really need to be super clear about his tone here. Paul is not boasting. He is sharing his powerful testimony of faithfulness at the absolute end of his life. This isn't some brag about his own human achievement. Rooted deeply in Reformed Calvinism theology, this is a foundational testimony of what it actually means to rely entirely on God to endure. And honestly, it prompts a massive question for us as we look at the big picture. When you think about your own life, what do you want to be able to say at the very end? Okay, section 3, details. Preaching the word. So, diving into the textual details, Paul perfectly diagnoses the culture around him, and frankly, it sounds a lot like our culture today. He points out that a time is coming when people simply won't put up with sound doctrine. Instead, they're going to gather around voices that only tell them what their itching ears want to hear. They'll literally trade the truth for easy, comfortable trends. But against a culture that just wants its ears tickled, Paul's command is incredibly firm. He tells Timothy to preach the word in season and out of season. He says to correct, rebuke, and encourage. And crucially, he tells him to keep his head in all situations. Basically, to stay perfectly balanced when the whole culture around you is losing its footing. Up next is section 4, process, fight, finish, keep. And this brilliantly illustrates the step-by-step process described in the document for spiritual endurance. It's not passive, right? Faithfulness is a very active, ongoing effort. Step 1, fight the good fight. That means actively staying in the battle even when you really just want to quit. Step 2, finish the race. It's not just about starting well, it means running all the way to the very end, enduring for the long haul. And step 3, keep the faith. Hold on to what you've received and absolutely refuse to trade it for something easier or trendier. It's a rigorous, 3-part process for living a life poured out for something that actually lasts. Which brings us to section 5. Contrasting Paul and Demas. Let's move to and see how this builds by comparing and contrasting these two wildly different paths presented in the text. On one side, we have Paul's path. He kept the faith, looked forward to the crown of righteousness, and relied completely on the Lord to give him strength. But then, on the flip side, the text mentions a man named Demas. And Demas's path is just tragic. He deserted his ministry. Why? Well, the text specifically says it was because he loved this world. He walked away when things got hard. This comparison acts as a massive warning. Loving this world, seeking comfort, status, or just looking for an easy way out is going to actively pull you away from faithful ministry. All right, our final section, number 6, implications for college students. The connections here are striking, especially as we look at the implications for this fall. We really need to connect Paul's warnings to your modern campus reality. Look, college campuses today are filled with people who only want to hear what they want to hear. Because of that, you should expect immense pressure to soften the gospel just to make it easier for people to accept. But the charge remains exactly the same. You've got to commit to sharing the gospel clearly this fall. You have to prepare for both comfortable, in-season moments and definitely those uncomfortable, out-of-season moments. And practically speaking, you need to identify what throws you off balance before the term even starts. We need patience, we need courage, and we absolutely must refuse to compromise the truth.
So the crucial point is, how do we actually do this? How in the world do we endure that kind of pressure? Well, it all comes down to this. The Lord stood at my side and gave me strength. Leaning heavily into Reformed Calvinism theology, we have to recognize that our endurance doesn't come from human resolve. It comes entirely from Him. God is sovereign, and He gives His strength to those who lean on Him. Just as He stood with Paul in a freezing prison cell, He promises to stand by you. You are not alone. He won't be absent. True endurance is relying completely on His power, not your own.
And that brings us to the clear conclusion of our research today. We want to leave you with a final, provocative question to chew on. What will you say at the end of your semester? When the term is finally over, will you be able to look back and say that you fought the good fight, finished the race, and kept the faith? Will you succumb to the culture like Demas, or will you stand firm, relying entirely on His power to keep your head in all situations? Keep this question right in front of you as you head into the fall and lean on the strength that only He can provide. Thanks so much for joining me today on this explainer. Keep fighting, keep finishing, and keep the faith.